He goes out to the family, and they have our heartfelt apology. We hope that the fact that we were overwhelmingly for the death penalty brings at least a little peace to the family. Although we continued deliberating and put numerous hours into the final vote, we could not change the outcome. We felt that the Travis Alexander portrayed in court was not an accurate portrayal of his life and character. The 11 of us strived for justice for Travis, but to no avail. We absolutely feel the penalty should have been death.
When you all were deadlocked on Tuesday and you let the judge know that, what was the split then?
11-1.
We've been 11-1 since the beginning.
It was last Thursday afternoon. It was steady.
With this kind of solidarity, your feelings about the juror who held out?
As an alternate, it was very upsetting.
Say what?
As an alternate, it's very upsetting.
Great. We're only getting one mic, so if we could give something, we'd really like to hear what you had to say.
As an alternate, it was very upsetting that there was a juror that was so, that had a position before they entered the room, in my opinion.
Say that, do you believe this person had an agenda before
Yes,
trial
we do.
began?
Yes, we do.
Can you shed any light on why you think that and what the reasons were?
Once we started deliberations, there was very minimal deliberation, comments from the juror. We all walked in that room knowing we wanted to look at more evidence, open up the journals, read a little bit more of witness testimonies. We felt that it was very closed off to this juror, and it just didn't get anywhere.
In essence, that's sort of alleging that this person violated their oath when they took. Is that your feeling?
No.
We did raise a concern to the judge at one point about a potential bias and ineffective deliberations. So we did try to voice our concerns written, and in fact, we may have been out of line. It was our first experience for most of us, but we went as far as to request consideration of an alternate.
How did you try to change her mind?
We opened up the floor when we first got in the deliberation room. We opened up the floor to everybody. What does everybody want to look at? What do we want to focus on? We pretty much let this juror decide what was more important to start delving into, so we could understand each other's positions. So the juror led the way on, and we started with the journals. That was what this juror wanted to focus on, was the journals.
Can you talk about the feeling last night and this morning when there was just that moment of we aren't getting anywhere?
Devastating.
Knots in the stomach,
Devastating.
lack of sleep.
Most of us have not slept this week. It's our families. Not only have we had to, with our families have also suffered along with us, not being able to speak to them, not being able to share why we're where we're at. I mean, this has been an emotional toll on us, our families, our jobs.
And we feel like we failed.
And we feel like we failed.
Were you man the foreperson?
No, I was not.
Okay. And was your vote always 11-1?
The initial, when we first, when we first went back into the jury that afternoon, there was some time to get evidence, video equipment, everything. But we did do a round table, and it was split.
Near
roughly.
50%.
It was about 50, a few undecided, but about 50% for death penalty. But then as we continued Wednesday afternoon and by Thursday after lunch, I wanted a data point, so I tried to take a poll every day so I could see if things are changing, shifting daily. And from Thursday afternoon, it was still 11-1.
Are you angry at this juror for holding fast to her vote?
No, I think we're angry because we felt they didn't deliberate with us. It wasn't part of the conversations at the table. That's what we felt like.
Is anyone angry at the one holdout? Anyone want to say they're angry? That's what I thought. I could see the anger.
Sir, can you do me a favor? Can you put that microphone down?
What did you think of Jodi Arias' testimony? You only saw part of it. obviously, she didn't finish. You know, and she didn't finish because the judge ordered the courtroom unlocked so we could be there, and Jodi said, no, I'm not going to continue. What did you make of what she did tell you?
Me personally did not put very much stock into what she said at all.
Did she look remorseful?
No,
She
and that was one of the things that we,
Looking for that.
yes, we all looked for that
Okay.
constantly. We did not see that.
Was it difficult for you to avoid the news and all this and social media and
Yes.
people that were, it was?
Yes,
It's very
difficult.
Anybody in here who was an initial holdout for the death penalty, what was the turning point in the deliberation room where you decided that death was appropriate?
For me, it was Dr. DeMarte, I think.
Did you think there was any big deal about porn on the computer? What if-
No.
Absolutely not.
No factor at all.
1 second.
No factor.
Now, the juror who's angry, you didn't get the chance to say you had to say about why you're angry about that and all that.
I feel that the one holdout had her mind made up from the beginning, and what angered me was the biggest thing that angered me was that she alluded that the death penalty would be a form of revenge. And I know that there are lots of us on the jury that whose religions, for instance, don't support capital punishment. So the fact that we had to overcome that and came to the decision that lots of us did, and the fact that she said it was like we were trying to get revenge was painful.
Did she look at the pictures at all that rolled out? Did you guys show her the pictures and go through those with her?
Yesterday afternoon.
What was her reaction to that?
Talk about that,
Not budging?
how you went through that process. You were saying you cleared the table and put stuff out. Talk about that.
I was just saying, we did go through that. We laid out all the crime scene photos, all the autopsy photos, discussed them at length, and she definitely had an understanding. You know, everybody had a clear understanding of the premeditation, the brutality, but it became clear that that wasn't enough for everybody.
Someone mentioned that she focused on the journals a lot. Was there anything else that she mentioned that was a specific reason that she voted the way she did? Or?
She thought that her psychological makeup was enough to say that she could not help, that she could not cope. Therefore, it gave her the idea that she didn't deserve the death penalty.
Quite a few of the mitigating factors struck a chord with that juror, and particularly 8 and 9.
You all look emotionally drained. Talk about what this process has just been like on your part.
I just want to make a comment. I was actually released the Monday before final statements were given. I was not kicked off the jury. And that was reported in the media, and that was very upsetting. My mother suddenly passed away, and I had to leave to go take care of her services. And this has been an amazing process, an emotional one, and every single one of us have put our lives on hold to be here. And we have absolutely, even though I wasn't part of the process of deliberations, I am angry that there wasn't a finality really to this, and that all of these people sitting here in this room were not able to have that be their final decision. I wish I would have been here and been part of that process, but unfortunately I wasn't going to be able to be there for the entire deliberations. But
Was there anything to the Mormon religion? Did anybody care about the Mormon religion, or
no.
it's irrelevant to you?
Irrelevant.
Did that ever make you angry that the defense made such a big deal about T-Dog, about Travis's double life? Did it make you angry?
Yes.
Yes.
We felt like they put Travis on trial, focused on that rather than the reason why we were there.
When we reviewed the records for ourselves, at least I will say that I got a totally different picture of Travis than
Does
what was
anyone want to
portrayed.
say here if you're LDS or not?
I am LDS. I'm not active, but I am. And it didn't,
Did it affect you at all?
absolutely not. It didn't play a part. I came into this completely open-minded and was willing to give it my best shot to listen to absolutely everything, view everything, and it would not have played a part in this decision at all.
Was any weight given to the potential mental illness, the potential abuse, be it physical and or mental, that she allegedly sustained?
After reviewing all the records, we looked at text, the Gmail, and the journals, all to line them up, and we did not believe there was any physical abuse. The emotional abuse, we feel, was on both sides.
How did you feel about the defense's experts, Fonseca and Geffner? Did you find them credible?
Fonseca, no. We totally threw out her testimony. Gaffner, in between Gaffner and DeMarte, we struggled with the two of them. We feel Jodi does have borderline personality disorder, but is not a mitigating factor at all.
Do you feel it did them any good having Geffner come back?
I feel like
you heard them already.
For me, when I took more to him when he was first there, and when he came back is when I started to discredit him quite a bit. I think they probably would have been better off had they not brought him back.
Did the slow pace of this trial really grate on you? How difficult was it?
Yes.
Endless nature of this.
Very difficult.
Very difficult. Tell me about that. This is supposed to be done by December 18th.
Yes. We felt, not knowing what was going on behind the scenes, there's a lot of downtime. We call it the white noise in the courtroom. Way too much downtime. It was just painstakingly slow. A lot of wasted time, we thought.
When you said earlier that you guys were stuck on couldn't come to a decision towards the end and asked for guidance, I think you mentioned saying that you were inexperienced and asked for something that probably wasn't right. What was that?
What I said was, this is our first time in this kind of case, obviously. We weren't sure what I was allowed to put on the question sheet, but we raised two concerns and went as far as also to respectfully request consideration of an alternate based on our concerns. I didn't know if that was going to get me the boot, but I said, if so, take the learning and don't ask again. But we wanted to make sure our concern was heard.
So you asked for an alternate to be switched with the one person holding out?
Yes, and we were very open and transparent about it, and we took a vote, and we provided some data with it. 11 out of 11 other jurors agreed with that.
Right, but the reason that we did wasn't because she disagreed with us. It was that she had brought up seeing that she'd seen parts of the movie and she'd kind of followed it. So it kind of, in our minds, we kind of felt like, not that she came into a bias, but that she, because of what she'd seen, she'd seen this monster, from what she had seen, and when she got there, it's not what she saw. So we felt like there was a level of biasness from somebody that had kind of followed this, and we weren't comfortable deliberating with somebody that had that much information that we didn't have, because she was bringing it up in deliberations, which meant she was bringing it to our deliberation, and that bothered us.
You said she saw the Lifetime movie?
She said she seen bits and pieces of it.
When Jodi was on the stand, did any of you feel like she was directly trying to just manipulate you as opposed to state her case?
I did. I took down in my notes at one point, I believe in her testimony that she had mentioned when she was looking for a house with Daryl Brewer that they wanted to purchase a house in a good school district because of his son, when a short time before that they had mentioned that they only had Daryl Brewer's son during the summertime. So at that point I felt like, okay, well, she's lying to my face. I can't give any credit to any of her testimony.
Do any of you have any respect for the juror that did hold out because she did stick to what she believed?
I respect her steadfastness, and I told her that. But I just disagreed, and for other concerns we raised.
When I don't.
Is she here in the room with us today?
No. I don't really think that anybody holds ill will towards her at all.
I don't hold ill will towards her, but I don't commend her on it because I think that it turned to more, in my opinion, I feel like it turned to more of a pride thing of standing her ground than what was actually believed. So, no.
Ask about when you asked to switch out her, did you specifically ask for alternate number 2? And if so,
No,
why?
no.
Oh, that's
No.
what
That
her.
would
So you
certainly
just
be
asked for her to
inappropriate.
be taken off.
We requested consideration of an alternate for the reasons we listed.
Did you find that the jury instructions were clear, or were some of them pretty confusing to you?
I found them clear.
We did reread them many times.
Yeah.
Was there one particular instruction that you had to keep going back over?
To try to get our point across, we went over several times does the mitigating factors outweigh the crime, the brutality of it. So that was one that we kept using because that was very important, that there was some things that we all did believe in the personality disorder and those things, but it didn't outweigh the crime and the brutality. So that was one thing that we really focused on and hoping to kind of use that. But
I think the instructions may have been a little lengthy. And the reason I say that is it seemed to me during deliberations that more than just one juror got hung up on different pieces of the instructions, and versus being able to remember all the instructions at the same time. So I felt that I personally had to put an effort in to keep us moving through the instructions and not get hung up on a particular one.
If any of you, do you have a message you would like to share with the Alexanders? I know you won't have a chance to speak with them directly, but if they see any of this, is there anything you'd like to say?
I mean, her statement pretty much said, we're sorry. We're sorry.
we really feel like we made a huge effort into trying to be what we believe was deserved, and I could not say enough how sorry I am that wasn't enough.
Did you feel any pressure walking in the elevators every day and having the Alexander family every day? What was that vibe like?
I'd say I think we felt pressure all around about that. Not just
from the family, from the press.
From the media, from the cover goers. It's hard. We're constantly, I mean, you probably saw us all, we're walking with headsets in to try to avoid, so we can continue to be impartial and unbiased about everything. And it's pressure all day, every day, wherever you go, trying to avoid it because it's everywhere.
We had to go to work every day, and after a while, people, even though we're not supposed to talk about it or say what trial you're on, people knew what it was, especially since the job I work in. They knew when I showed up on Tuesday and Wednesday, that same trial was also off. I mean, so it was hard. It was hard when people are like, so how not to react emotionally, or every time you walk in a room, you have to turn around because I had to avoid people my friends and family, because they've tried, but they knew I emotionally was struggling for 5 months,
How do you guys feel about Judge Stevens?
I really liked her.
We like her.
I think she has a lot of, she came in and spoke to us, and I felt like she had a lot of heart, and I really did like her.
Was there anything said by the defense team that really just struck you as a very low blow, just inappropriate?
I felt like a lot of the things that they had said was a low blow. I felt like they portrayed him to be this awful person, which is not at all what we found when we really started digging into things. I felt like, to me, a lot of it was low blow.
They just hammered on the horn.
That brings me to my question. Many of us in this room followed both of the trials very closely, and it is a fact that you did not hear the evidence that first jury heard, all the details of the premeditation and everything that first jury found. So, and you, I think, needed to hear that to do your weighing test. It's not technically a weighing test in Arizona, but that's how you describe it. That's okay. And did you go back to the evidence in the first trial. Did you need to explore?
We
did not have
dug
access
through
to it.
everything that was on, that went back with us.
We didn't have
Everything.
access to it. We only had access to the exhibits that were presented in this trial.
Yeah, we didn't have testimony.
Yes.
We did have, no.
We had exhibits.
The carts.
The carts, but we asked for a, what did we ask for? We asked for a.
List of exhibit numbers and descriptions.
No,
we got a stack of DVDs with just dates, nothing on them. No who was on there. I think the only thing was tagged was.
Exhibits from the first trial.
We did get some exhibits. We did have some evidence, and we
Yeah.
did,
But
yes.
Ones that were admitted.
But nothing tagged.
More what
Nothing
was
was tagged.
difficult was the bits and pieces of things. You have that just piece of a statement. You don't get a full context, and that was hard to go back and look and see just those pieces, not getting the full idea. And going back, I wanted to say that was what was hardest for us, is then going back and seeing, after seeing just bits and pieces through 5 months of their interaction, and then when we read all the journals, all the texts, and everything, and it's not at all like how it's portrayed.
What about the email from Chris and Sky Hughes? Did that affect you in your feelings towards Travis Alexander? Because that letter, if you read it in its entirety, is actually a very loving letter. The pieces that we saw in the courtroom were the nastiest, taken out of context. Did you see the whole letter?
That letter was originally what had me very early on. It wasn't till the very end that I really had changed my mind to the death penalty. And that letter was part of what really kind of swayed me that maybe there was an emotional abuse there. So they did have an effect on me. And I wish that we would have had more evidence from the Hughes to see really what that was kind of what we were hoping for, because that's all we had to go off of. And so it did have an effect, but in the end, it wasn't enough. So.
What is your message to Jodi Arias?
I don't dare.
Is there any other piece of evidence or testimony you wish you had, you wish you'd been able to hear or have access to?
I wish we had access to testimony and full testimony from, the prior phases of the trial. That would have been very helpful. It was very frustrating lots of times when we would say, well, do we have this? And we couldn't find it. And it took a long time to sift through this stuff to see if we had it. There was always evidence on the table being sifted through as discussions were going on.
I know that, too, one of the things was, since they did put Travis kind of on trial here, one of the things that was mentioned was that Dr. Geffner had read his journals, and I know that we were really hoping to get, have his journal, and we didn't really understand why we didn't have his side, especially since he was so much on trial at this point. So that, to me, I would have liked to had to see what he kind of took from everything.
Not to even speak for the holdout, but you get any impression that if you would have had things like Travis's journal, that if the Hugheses would have been put on, that if you'd have had more things, would have swayed her at all?
I don't believe so, because she believed that the psychological makeup, that, she was aware that she knew right from wrong. She knew that he suffered. She knew that, she didn't have these blackouts. So I don't really honestly believe that there probably would have been much that could have been done.
To follow up on Steve's question, you said you don't want to say what you would say to Jodi Arias, but we all want to, I think, get a sense for what you think of Jodi Arias to the extent. What is your opinion of Jodi Arias?
I actually think she's a psychopath.
Say again.
I actually think she's a psychopath. It was been waiting to happen, whether it came out with Travis or not, but I am the harshest of the group, I think. And when this trial's done, I have nothing to say to her because I don't want to give her any more, I don't want to give her any more attention, but I think she's a psychopath.
I would say in that part that, I don't really know. My personal feelings against her would be, obviously, I think she's an awful person. I think she's terrible. I think she's terrible for putting Travis down the way that she did. But if I had something to say to her, I would ask, I mean, now that the death penalty's off the chart for her, you know, at least give that family the truth of what really happened. And I think it's wrong that she tries to tell us she's remorseful, yet she's still not being 100% honest. And so I just think that goes to show her character.
Genuine remorse is not full honesty.
Lack of.
Yeah, she has no remorse. She doesn't care that they don't. And writing that letter to the family to me was
horrible.
Was a low blow.
We didn't realize that was 18 pages.
Can the foreperson or anybody else who wants to talk about this just paint a little bit more of the picture of when you sent the note to the judge about switching off the one juror? Did she know that that letter was being sent, and what was her reaction? And just give us
who do you mean by she?
The juror that you were asking.
Oh yeah, we were
replaced. Give us a little bit of what was happening.
We were open and transparent. I read it aloud in the room. Everybody was present. So yeah, I told that juror that, you know, if roles were reversed, I wouldn't want the foreperson to submit a question like that behind my back.
But she wrote her own note to the judge.
We did.
And she was not.
Which we never saw, and we didn't force her to show us.
Yeah. You could have known what the alternate juror was thinking if it was guilty. So you were willing to take that risk knowing.
Yeah, because it was somebody that, like I said, my issue with it was that she had seen so much, like as far as the movie and the news. If we could have got somebody else in there, even if it was for life, first of all, they wouldn't have had that opinion already, and hopefully they would have given us something to back what they were saying. This was just I feel. There was nothing that she could show us. So yes, it was definitely worth the risk.
So do you feel then ultimately that this juror came into the jury against the death penalty?
I think that she came in thinking that she was going to see a monster sitting there, and because that's what she had seen on the movie and that's what she had seen on the news, but when she walked in, she didn't. I can't say that I know what she was thinking when she came into it.
I saw some other heads bobbing yes to that. Does anybody else have any comments about whether she came in as a juror against the death penalty no matter what?
I don't think that she was aware that she was against it when she first came in. I think it was something that once you get closer to the end, she kind of realized, you know. But I think
she was against it in principle, that she just couldn't do the death penalty to anyone.
Right.
Yes.
We actually asked her that question. We asked her what it would actually take, what a person would have done to deserve capital punishment or to get capital punishment, and she couldn't answer that question. And for me, that was part of my frustration, was because she couldn't. I can't say whether she was unwilling or whether she couldn't, but she was not articulating her opinions. She never went undecided. She was life, and she wouldn't explain to us why. So it made it very difficult as a juror for me to try and persuade her and get her to see my side.
We learned during jury selection that she was emotionally, psychologically abused by her ex-husband. She called him bully. She was projecting, she was projecting. That G-chat on May 26th, where Travis calls Jodi all kinds of names, maybe justifiably so, we don't know the whole story. She may have identified and projected her ex-husband on that. Did she tell you about that?
No.
She didn't speak to it at all.
Specifically, but
No, did she?
we did ask about.
Her husband was in
Bottom line,
prison.
do any of you think she violated the rules? Do you think she violated her oath? Do you think she violated the rules? Do you think she committed any kind of wrongdoing in her behavior in that deliberation?
I think there may have been some exaggeration in the jury room. She was asked at one point whether or not she even believed in the death penalty, and her answer was absolutely yes. But then we couldn't present a scenario, and she couldn't present a scenario where she would vote for capital punishment. So in my opinion, it's like it would have had to been.
She used the words that it was revenge the death penalty would be revenge. So if you believe in the death penalty, you wouldn't use those words. You wouldn't say that.
She used the word normal. Like if she was normal, that would have been, I'm paraphrasing, but she used the word normal.
So it's pretty clear nobody thinks that this juror should have been on a jury in which you were deciding the death penalty. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question. Did you guys find it strange that the Arias family did not get up on the stand and testify on Jodi's behalf during this portion of the trial?
Yes, we all thought, majority of us have children. We all thought if it was our child up there, we would absolutely have gone up there and pleaded for their life. Yes, we thought it very, very strange that neither parent got up on the stand.
Yeah, I think that, if everything that she was saying was true, then they should have been up there and they should have been able to say, yes, this happened and this happened. To me, it spoke volumes that they didn't even get up there.
Were you aware that Jodi had a right to stand before you, the way the victim impact statements were given? She had a right to stand before you and plead for mercy and express remorse and say whatever she wanted, but she chose not to. Are you aware she had the right, or would you have wanted to hear her say, I'm so sorry, and express remorse? Would it have changed your mind?
From just, what I've known of other court cases, I pretty much assumed that she had that opportunity. I didn't really think about it too much when we went into deliberation.
If she stood before you and said, I'm really sorry for what I did, and I can still lead a life and make some sort of contribution if you give me life?
That wouldn't have, because you could, just even when she was up there testifying, it was so forced. It was rehearsed. There was no actual pain there. So, no, I don't think that she would have been able to convince us that she actually felt bad, because she doesn't have remorse. So.
I follow up on the secret testimony again. What did you all think about the fact that when she got up to testify, there was this closed courtroom and everybody else was gone except Jodi? How did you react to that? Did you think anything about the fact that everybody else was gone but Jodi?
I just personally thought it was for security reasons. I thought that because it was such a high-profile case and she was going up on the stand, that there was a possibility that somebody might lash out at her. So I was surprised, but initially when I walked in, I was surprised to see that everybody was gone. But then once I realized that it was because she was going to testify, I was no longer surprised at all.
His head down here. I would like, do you have a reaction to when you walked in and saw that everybody was gone?
I think surprised, but it didn't matter.
In some ways it was nice because we didn't have hundreds of eyes looking at the right side of our
Yeah.
You guys don't know that that's unusual, that the public would be totally kicked out of a public trial?
None of us have been on jury, or most of us have not been in a courtroom, except for maybe divorce or other various things, but other than that, none of us have been in a courtroom.
Were the 12 that were picked to be jurors, what was your thought when you guys were picked? Were you okay with it? Did you guys want to be like...
I was hoping to be an alternate, 100%. I knew that it would be an emotional, that the deliberation would be tough. And so I'm not going to lie, when they didn't pick mine, I think I was probably close to tears.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the process, I was particularly excited the further I got because, well, I didn't know that this case was even, I didn't know it was still going on, honestly. I didn't know a whole lot. So I was proud, I was bragging to my daughter that, hey, I might actually get on a trial this time. And it wasn't until I walked into the courtroom and saw her sitting there for the first time that I went, oh, crap, this is what we're here for?
Are you haunted at all by the pictures of Travis Alexander dead? Is that something that you're going to, because we are, and I can't imagine what it's like to be you and to have to determine someone's fate based on that.
We actually used that as our last-ditch effort yesterday. Even though none of us wanted to see it, we thought if we had a chance at changing her mind, it would be setting those out. Now, we'd seen them before, but now regretting even doing so because it's probably what really got to a lot of us. And that was when we were done. If that doesn't change your mind, we're all personally scarred from that. And I know for me, I will be.
That was my last thought last night. I went to close my eyes, and that was the picture I saw. And then I didn't sleep the rest of the night, and I had my kids to wake up in the morning and be a productive mom. And I cannot get that out of my head, and it's going to stick with all of us the rest of our lives.
For the alternates here in the room, how difficult was it to sit through the entire trial and not be a part of that final deliberation moment?
I can just say for myself, I mean, it was excruciating to actually have to be let go and know my heart was in the right place. It was very, very hard. And it was just difficult not being part of the process, and then to come in today and find out the reason why, we didn't get to the right determination here. It's very frustrating for all three of us. I mean, I actually got let go, but there were 2 alternates still left, but I still consider myself part of that process. And, I know that any of the 3 of us in here would have also been able to come to a unanimous conclusion. So it's really frustrating and putting your life absolutely on hold. I was at work at my job 1 day a week oftentimes, and it's difficult, but fortunately my employer was absolutely 100% backing me for this service that I did, and I'm proud I was part of the process. It's been really hard, and just to comment back on what we've gone through emotionally, viewing the photographs, listening to all the content, it will remain with you for the rest of your life. And nightmares, we've had nightmares. I think every single one of us in here have had nightmares. And I continue to have them periodically, and I hope that they eventually go away.
Just to clarify, the person who was holding out was not the person who replaced the juror who had to be excused, correct? That person was with you the whole way?
Can you say which juror number it was? You say juror.
No. Did you want to say something on the alternate?
There's 2 sides to the coin here. Nobody wants to make a decision like this, be put in a position to make a decision like this, but after sitting through testimony for 4 or 5 months, and to come in today and hear that there was a juror that behaved in this way, I found it particularly painful that I didn't get to participate in the process, because you're fully emotionally invested for a long time, and you kind of feel like thanks, but go away. Not the right way to put it, but that's sort of the feeling you get.
I think about Juan Martinez. He has a very unique style of presenting evidence in the courtroom. Did you guys like him? Or did he
I did personally.
You did?
I liked him. In the beginning I didn't, but towards the end I looked forward to cross-examinations by Mr. Martinez. In the beginning I was, he was very abrasive, and that lasted probably, I don't remember how much time, but it changed, and I grew to like him very quickly.
I feel the same way. I was one of the jurors that got questioned by myself during the jury selection, and he kind of grilled me, and I was a little scared. And I was really kind of afraid, of him, but as the trial went on, I really grew to like him, and I look, as I said, like he said, look forward to hearing him.
He moved too quickly for you to where you couldn't keep up?
No.
He was a lot to take, I think, at first, but then I think really towards the end, I think he really kind of just drove it home and really got his point across. So I actually really like Mr. Martinez.
Not to change the subject completely, but I do have to ask about the crock pot.
Chili.
It's chili.
Huh?
It got its own Twitter.
It has a Twitter handle.
Oh, wow. Oh, way to go, Rod.
Eating in.
Yeah. Talk about that decision, because that lunch break, it's a time to decompress for a minute, but to want to keep going through just shows how dedicated you guys are.
Well, I think by the time went 5 months, we were ready to be done. So when we all got in there, we all decided, look, we wanted to stay late. We asked if we
You
could.
requested to stay late.
Yes, we wanted to stay late, and we were given hours that we had to go by. But we all agreed we were going to stay in here and eat through lunch and stay as late as we could every day until we're done.
Did you guys want to work Fridays?
Yes, there were some conflicts. It ended so quickly. There were
Remember,
some
for
conflicts.
4 or 5 months, Friday was our day to schedule medical, doctor appointments, and some things had already been scheduled. Had it continued on, I think we would have started Fridays.
Yes.
Jurors in the other trial have said that they really made some friendships, made some bonds. So you think that some of you folks will stay in touch and you will establish relationships that will go beyond this trial?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%.
I would hope so.
We were told that a note was submitted last night and you guys can come to a decision. So were you then asked to think about it again and you guys sent another note this morning? Or?
It was too late to get everybody in the courtroom.
Well, no, last night we submitted it, and then this morning we were slightly hopeful that maybe after thinking about it overnight that maybe she would change her mind. So we kind of told them, hold off. We did one more, and there was nothing, so.
Did you feel Jodi Arias tried to make any kind of eye contact with each one of you while you were sitting in the box?
Yes.
Smile at you at all?
Yes.
What's that like? Okay.
Not just her, it was the defense team.
Eerie.
Very, very annoying. We didn't like it at all, and we tried as much as we could not even to look. At first you somewhat, okay, this is how it goes, but after a while, I stopped looking. It was, especially when it was testimony that she wanted you to believe that, I'm upset, I'm this meek person that can do that. I mean, they just would watch you for any kind of emotion at all, and I stopped. I had to almost quit looking at the attorney after a while.
Following up on that, did you come to hate the defense team, or did you understand that they were trying to do their job?
I did not hate the defense team. I do believe they were trying to do their job. So I don't hate anybody coming out of this. I think that's a strong word. So I think they were hired to do something, and that's what they were doing.
Anybody else feel differently?
Hate is strong.
Yeah.
You would dislike their tactics?
Do you feel their case was really mumbo-jumboed up with Geffner being on, 1 week and then not coming back for 2 other weeks, and then you have an expert talking about pornography in between that? Did you feel their case was a little long and kind of jumbled up, or did that not impact you at all?
I thought so. I thought it started dragging out after a while. It's like, okay, we get it. Let's move on to something else. Especially the computer and the porn, they just grilled that. I mean, they would not let that go. And that got old real fast. It's like, okay, next topic. So
Is that the sentiment of most of you, that the porn and the computer issue overdone?
Yeah,
it was just it was a low blow trying to make him seem like a bad person. I think
that was not effective.
it had no effect at all. It was a waste of time.
Did you guys talk with either of the team's attorneys after the trial wrapped up today?
No. It was only offered for the defense to ask if we had any questions.
We have said the judge do not replace that juror.
Yes.
I think we've got a juror that needs to leave.
Thank you for your time.
Can you tell us really quick, what was it like when you said goodbye to that one juror today?
She didn't say goodbye to us.
She didn't say goodbye?
No.
You're going to have the jurors come out first.
One thing about that,
Just wait a few minutes.
we all still care about her. The hard thing was the situation of going in there and not feeling like we could get anywhere. I think I could say that we all care about her.
Do any of you guys care to give us your name?
Thank you very much for your service.